He'll reset. Nowitzki again for the lead. Bang!
What's up, Mavs fans? Today I've got a very different style of video for you. Today I'm going to be breaking down some overreactions that I've seen from Dallas Maverick fans while they've kind of been in a bit of a tough stretch to start the season. So here's what I'm going to do. First, you're going to see a clip of the overreaction, and then you're going to see a clip of the underreaction, and then I'm going to come back and give you what the reasonable response should be and what you guys should be thinking as Mavs fans. So for the overreactions, it's going to be the guy that is the loudmouth on Twitter, the loudmouth on Facebook, the loudmouth in the YouTube comment section, and you know what? His reactions are just based on how the Mavs happen to be doing in that very moment. But then you're going to see the person that underreacts, the person that has their head buried in the sand, the ultimate optimistic Mavs fan that just thinks everything is sunshine and rainbows all the time. And like I said, after those two clips, come back to me and I will just lay it all out for you and let you know what you really should be thinking about our Dallas Mavericks. So as I said, a very different style of video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know in the comments section. And by the way, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, go ahead and do so now. So let's get into overreaction number one. All right, it's official. I'm done. Fire Rick Carlisle. Worst coach in the NBA. Hasn't done anything for Dallas since 2011. He can't run an offense around Luka. He doesn't know how to operate in defense. And honestly, at this point, I'd rather give Jason Kidd another shot as a head coach. He's played in Dallas before. He knows the system. Why not bring him back and give him another chance? Or how about Jamal Mosley? Just call him up off the bench and make him the head coach. Anything, and literally any coach in the league, any assistant in the league would be better than Rick Carlisle as the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. He is not even a top 20 coach in the NBA. I'm done. I'm over it. Fire Rick Carlisle and the Mavs' problems would be solved. Why aren't more people talking about Rick Carlisle as head coach of the year? I mean, let's look at what this guy has done with a depleted roster. Sure, the games are 2 games under 500, but this team isn't talented enough for a coach like Rick. Rick is elite. I'd still say he's a top 3 coach in the NBA. I've been extremely happy with what he's done, both on the rotations, the defensive side of the ball, especially the offensive side of the ball. Even if the Mavs, I don't care what the Mavs do this year, whether they make the playoffs or not. I think Rick's job is 100% safe. And I think anyone that's questioning him is just absolutely out of their mind. Rick is the best coach, one of the best coaches in the league today. Top 3, in my opinion. All right, so here's my deal on Rick Carlisle. I've had my fair share of frustrations with him this year. His ability to preach defense has completely shined through, but lately it's fallen through the cracks because Dorian Finney-Smith and Josh Richardson just weren't available and they weren't healthy. Also, no Maxi Kleber, who's a top 3 defender on the Mavs as well. Offensively, I do think the Mavs have taken a step back, but it's not just because of Rick's rotations or what Rick is doing on the offense. It's because they don't have the same personnel as they did last year in terms of three-point shooting. It's just not the same as it was, and that was to be expected. Now, I am not in the camp of fire Rick because, number one, the biggest problem that comes with firing Rick Carlisle is finding his replacement. And finding his replacement is not that easy. Jason Kidd, Mike D'Antoni, all these assistant coaches, they're assistant coaches for a reason. And Rick is still a guy who, he may not be top 3 like our underreactionary guy said, but I still think he's a top 10 head coach in the league. My biggest frustration with him this year has been the clutch rotations. I haven't really understood what he's doing in the last 5 to 6 minutes in terms of rotations, but overall, throughout the course of a game, I think he's weathering the storm the best that he can. Also, if you're in the camp of, hey, make Jamal Mosley the head coach, the problem is, Jamal Mosley has learned under Rick Carlisle. So if you really believe Rick Carlisle is the problem, hiring one of his assistants as the head coach just isn't the answer. So my final conclusion with this is keep Rick Carlisle, but if the Mavs fall to 7 or 8 in the West, by the end of the year, it might be worth taking a look at him in the offseason. However, at the end of the day, I'm going to be Team Rick until he does something absolutely wild that makes me say, get rid of him. Now let's jump into overreaction number 2. It's officially time to give up on the Luka Porzingis experiment. Seriously, trade Kristaps Porzingis for anyone that comes calling. Honestly, if the Chicago Bulls say, hey, we'll give you Zach LaVine for Kristaps Porzingis, I'm doing it in a heartbeat. Because at this point, Porzingis and Luka just are not a fit. It doesn't make any sense. And honestly, Porzingis can't even stay healthy enough to warrant being the second player on a championship team. I don't even think he could be a third player on a championship team. If you trade Kristaps Porzingis, you do it. If you get the opportunity, I don't care who becomes available, you make the move and you trade KP away from the Mavs. Get him away from Luka. It's toxic. I don't want him on the Mavs anymore. Kristaps Porzingis has been completely 100% meeting my expectations this year. I thought he'd come back as bubble Porzingis, but honestly, I think he's looking even better. You know, the shot's not falling right now, but I think that's okay. I think he'll be just fine. This is exactly what I wanted from the guy that we're giving a max contract to. 29% from three, not really a thing. I think Kristaps Porzingis, honestly, by the end of the year, I think he could be the best player on this Mavericks team, and I think he might be the one that leads the Mavs to a championship, not Luka Doncic. Okay, so as you guys know, I'm a firm believer in Kristaps Porzingis. I do not want him off of the Dallas Mavericks. I still believe this Luka and KP experiment is going to work. We're not even all the way into the second full season of him with Luka Doncic. He's only played in 8 games, so let's just pump the brakes. Now, I am frustrated with the way he started, but I'm not frustrated because his shots aren't falling or because, anything like that. I'm mainly frustrated because he's looked timid to start this year. He looks like he doesn't fully trust that knee yet. And we saw that at the beginning of last year, and he eventually came around, especially in the bubble. So my thoughts on this are, let's stay patient with Kristaps Porzingis. And I know people are like, Jimmy, I'm tired of being patient. Okay, well, then have some more patience. I don't know what to tell you, because I do believe that within 20 games, and I know that seems like a long time, but within 20 games of the season for him, which is in 12 more games, he will be back and he will trust that knee. Now, I will say the rebounding and the defensive issues, he has definitely looked softer than I would like. And that's just kind of who Kristaps Porzingis is. So maybe it is worth looking at a center to bring in next to him that's a little bit of a bigger body. I don't know who that is right now, and I don't know what the pieces the Mavs would have to give up to get him, but I would like Kristaps Porzingis to be tougher down low. Now, when it comes to a trade, I'm not trading him for anything less than an all-star to a superstar level player, because I think Kristaps Porzingis can get to that level once again. So our overreaction guy that was saying trade for Zach LaVine, I think that's just completely bogus. That's why I made it the overreaction that I did. But I will say, if there is a home run trade that comes along offered by the Washington Wizards for Bradley Beal, I wouldn't be surprised if the Mavs decide to listen for trade offers for Porzingis. So that's our Porzingis take, but let's get into overreaction numero tres. This last offseason was a complete joke by the Dallas Mavericks front office. The fact that we traded away Seth Curry for Josh Richardson, are you kidding me? The draft, Tyrell Terry, Josh Green, and Tyler Bay, who even knows who those guys are? The biggest problem for the Mavs right now is their front office. Mark Cuban and Donnie Nelson. They gotta go. Dallas didn't address a single need. The Mavs need to get bigger. They need to get better rebounders. They didn't do that in the offseason. They didn't get more aggressive. They didn't get better defenders. They just took a step back in every area they could have. Honestly, I would have been happier if the Mavs would have just run back the same team that they had last year with Seth Curry, Justin Jackson, and DeLon Wright as your main role players rather than bring in Josh Richardson and James Johnson. Complete flop by the Mavs front office. Hey, you know what? I think the Mavs finally had an A-plus offseason. I think it was a slam dunk home run. Josh Green, he might not be Rookie of the Year, but I think in 2 to 3 years, he will be a steal of the draft. I mean, I loved everything that Dallas did. Who's Seth Curry? I don't even want him back at this point. Sure, he can shoot the ball, but I could go out and shoot the ball like Seth Curry if I wanted to. Home run, slam dunk of an offseason. Every need was met by this front office. 5 stars to Mark Cuban and Donnie Nelson after this one. Listen, free agency for the Dallas Mavericks was disappointing. Their only real signing was Wesley Iwundu. They re-signed Trey Burke. They re-signed Willie Cauley-Stein. But the free agency period, it was disappointing. I am willing to admit that. However, I still believe the draft was a win for the Dallas Mavericks. Josh Green at 18, listen, I think he's going to be a good player in the NBA for a long time. I think he's going to be a solid role player. He's still just 20 years old. Would I have rather had a guy like Precious Achiuwa or Emmanuel Quickley or maybe even a Sadiq Bey or a Tyrese Maxey? Sure. But you know what? I still think Josh Green is going to answer a lot of questions for the Mavs somewhere down the road. Tyrell Terry is going to take a year or two to really get developed. And Tyler Bey, all part of the Josh Richardson trade, I still like him a lot, even though we haven't seen a whole lot of him. And then when it comes to the trades, you know what? I see a lot of people that complain about the Seth Curry trade. I know our overreaction guy hated the Seth Curry trade. But if you kept Seth Curry on this team, you would have had just as many questions as you do right now. They just would have been different questions. The Mavs with Josh Richardson are going to be fine on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, he makes you so much better, and we still have to be patient. He played, 6 games before going down with COVID, and he finally started to hit his stride. And then now that he's back, he's still trying to get his wind underneath him. So again, it's a matter of patience with Josh Richardson. Plus, James Johnson, you got him basically for free. You didn't really give up anything. You gave up DeLon Wright and Justin Jackson. They weren't going to play anyway. So I'm still happy with the trades. I am still disappointed with free agency, but ultimately, I still think the offseason answered a lot of needs for the Dallas Mavericks. It just could have gone a lot better. I'm just going to be reasonable about it. All right, we got one more overreaction for you, so let's get into it now. Number 4. I'm dead serious when I say this. The Mavs are going to miss the playoffs. This is the year that they miss the playoffs and they underperform all expectations. They're too far gone at this point. Too many guys missed too much time because of COVID. Porzingis can't stay healthy enough for the Mavs to actually reach the playoffs. So at this point, why not just play all the rookies? Give Josh Green, Tyrell Terry, Tyler Bay, Nate Hinton, give them all the minutes and just forget this season. It's a loss already. There is no reason to play for anything if you're the Dallas Mavericks. At best, you're a 9th seed in the play-in tournament. This is embarrassing. I don't even want to be in the playoffs at this point because they're just going to get bounced in the first round, but too bad they won't even make it there. It's too far gone. Mavs aren't making the playoffs. You know, I know the Mavs are off to a slow start, but I still think this is a top 4 team in the Western Conference. You know what? I think they're top 3 in the Western Conference. They have all the personnel and all the pieces to do it, and I haven't seen any real problems with the Mavs. It's just been that they're a little hurt or they're a little bit sick. I'm still predicting a top 3 seed for this Dallas Maverick team come playoff time, so don't be surprised, and you can bookmark this video and come back to it and say, I told you so. Guys, the Dallas Mavericks are not going to miss the playoffs this year. Worst case scenario, they're in the play-in and they make it because they're going to be the best team in the play-in if that happens. But that's not going to happen. The reality is this is a middle-of-the-pack team. Is that disappointing? Yeah, it's disappointing. I wanted and I predicted that this team would finish top 4 in the Western Conference. I don't think that's the case right now unless there's something major that happens in the offseason. But at the end of the day, I still think this team is a 5 to 6 seed. I don't think they fall to 7 or 8. If they are, that's when you start to look at Rick Carlisle. If they jump to top 3, Luka's back in the MVP conversation. But if we're being honest with ourselves, this is a 5 to 6 team. Your ultimate ceiling, I think, being the 4th seed, and your ultimate floor probably being 7th. So let's not overreact to a slow start to the season. It happens for a lot of different teams. And this team has been the most unhealthy team in the NBA besides the Wizards, who constantly got their games postponed. So give it some time. Let's all take a breath, and we're going to be okay. We're going to be in the playoffs, and that's when Luka Doncic likes to shine. He likes to be under the bright lights. Dallas snuck in as a 7th seed last year, faced off against the LA Clippers, and pushed them to 6 games. If Dallas is a 7th seed again this year, they're going to push a number 2 seed probably to 7 games and maybe win. So I'm still believing that this is a playoff team. Anyone saying otherwise, I think, is just one of the overreactors in the Mavs world. So I appreciate you tuning into this video. I know it was a lot different, but I had a lot of fun making it. Obviously, still going to work on the skits a little bit. Maybe my acting skills aren't that great, but hey, we'll get there slowly but surely. If you guys want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comment section. If you don't ever want to see another video like this again, feel free to hit that thumbs down button, but I would appreciate it if you gave me a like. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, you know the drill. Type hashtag MFFL in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe. And as always, go Mavs, baby.